Hello, I'm Thomas Hicks, a commissioner with the United States Election Assistance Commission. February is Black History Month, and as part of the EAC's efforts, I will be interviewing some election officials about their experience in the field serving voters across this country. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Toni Pippins-Poole, who is the former election administrator for Dallas County elections in Texas. Hi, Toni. How are you doing today? And it's great for you to be a part of this Black celebration for Black History Month.
Doing well, and thank you for having me.
Great. Can you talk a little bit about your background and what brought you to the world of elections?
Well, being involved with the community and being involved with my church in responding to some of the needs that were in the community as far as knowledge about the political process, voter registration, knowledge about voting. And we didn't really have that a lot in the trust that we didn't have in the African-American community. The only time that we really saw or heard or experienced any voting of registration was at the time when the politician, the Black elected officials, and even sometimes Anglos would come to our churches on Sunday or some of our meetings just to let us know and to see if they could count on our votes. But there was a lot of untrust about the voting system in the African-American community. We just didn't think that our vote would count. Some thought that that was the only way you'd be called for jury duty. So they didn't want to do jury duty. It was not a very popular process. So those were some things that really had to be overcome. And in working with some of the politicians and working with some of my friends in the radio industry, we realized that there was not a lot of information, not a lot of response or information coming into the community on a regular basis. And that's when I was talking to some of my friends, and they were telling me about jobs. I was looking for a job with my degree. I was looking at human resource director when our only African-American commissioner, John Wiley Price, asked me, what about elections? You know, we've talked about it. We've talked about the community, and I thought maybe that might be a better area for me to assist my community in seeing what's really happening on the inside that I could take to the community to build up that trust, and also build up the participation in our election, because we had low election turnouts, we had low registration. So I thought maybe with that and with the community and the efforts and the PR process that I had behind me, that I would make a bigger difference in working on the inside of the office rather than trying to work on the outside and gain more knowledge about the electoral system and the process in Dallas County. So that was the reason why I decided to, let's take that job and work on the inside.
Great. So what obstacles did you face during your career, and how did you overcome them?
Well, during the 1980s, when I was just the election coordinator, not knowing a lot about it, I had to build up their trust. And then when I became the elections administrator, there was that trust about from a male-dominant group. You didn't have many African Americans. You didn't have any, really. Only one other in Texas. That you had to build up trust that you could actually do the job. So with the group that were in leadership, they always thought of men really running the elections department. So that was an obstacle about being able to make decisions very quickly, and the obstacle of, can you be the administrator for not only minorities in the communities, but building up the trust throughout Dallas County as a whole. So that was how do you get that involvement? How do you get that trust? And then other obstacles when you're in that job or in that position, we didn't have as much of a good budget. So there was financial obstacles that we saw. And then with that too, the trust about, or the justification for trying to make some changes. It was kind of still the good old board system. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I was coming in there saying, there's some things that really need to be fixed. How are we going to fix it? And sometimes there were things that we just didn't have accessibility to really fix it. And with working with some of the other departments in Dallas County, the IT department, we tried to start making things change for Dallas County. And so those were some of the obstacles. The knowledge base really wasn't always there. But one thing I had to tell myself and my staff is that you have to be very familiarize yourself with what the laws are. You have to know what the laws are. You have to know what the procedures are. And what do we do in order to get that information out to the public, that you can trust us, we know what we're doing, and we're going to be fair and non-partial about it. So those were some big obstacles that I saw in staffing, and also and getting people to even want to work on elections. Salary wasn't there. They were still trying to pay like $8 an hour, $7 an hour. So it was very tough in trying to overcome some of the misnomers about voting, and how do you build up that trust. So that was some of the obstacles. Old equipment was some of the obstacles that we had. Less IT involvement was some of the obstacles, and the finance, the budget part. So those were so key, along with recruitment of election judges and recruitment of election workers, election staff, and maintaining those election staff.
That leads to my next question of, how do you ensure different groups are able to participate in the voting process?
Well, one of the things that, one of the process that I did when I was there, I started what kind of outreach program in order to get with the different organizations, the different groups, to go into the different diverse neighborhoods. I started the Bilingual Coordinator, was one of the first counties in the nation to have a bilingual coordinator. I worked with the Justice Department, and the Justice Department ended up taking one in my job description and taking it to a lot of different counties to say, if you're not working with with the bilingual coordinator, or having a type of program like this, here's Dallas County's program. So it's kind of use it as a no excuse to be able to be out into the diverse communities, Asian, Hispanic, the Latin community, and the African American communities. We were there with that particular group. We made a commitment that we wanted to advise them about how easy it was to register to vote, how easy it was to utilize the equipment. Because not only once you registered to vote, the issue became they were afraid to go into the polling locations not knowing what to expect with the voting equipment and the voting system. So not only did we have an outreach program just for voter registration, but we included mock elections. We included taking the equipment out, showing the different communities what our equipment looked like, how easy it was to utilize. We also took our outreach programs to some of the nursing homes to let them know about mail balloting, how easy it was, because we would tend to see nursing home bring busloads of voters, and they just didn't know, they felt uncomfortable, you know, and it took very long for them to actually bring the equipment out into the buses, allow them to vote, and then they were wondering, did they vote count? So we wanted them to know about the program of mail balloting. So we not only took the equipment out, but we showed the nursing homes, and we went into the senior citizen events. We went to their events and showed them, here's the documents that you want to complete in order to get your mail ballot, to make it very easy for you to vote and trust that system. So get in our faces, get in the department, out of the building and out into the community was one of the sources that we felt would be necessary for the voters to know about voter registration, know about the equipment, and do not have the fear when you go into the polling place, know what the process is. And I think that was the best process that Dallas County had to kind of ease that voting. We were utilizing students, educating the students as well, because we knew that they were our future voters. So we began taking our equipment into those high schools, junior highs, and even elementary schools. We were having mock elections. I programmed many of homecoming queens and kings, student council elections, and some of the cities had been a city council, a mayor for the day. So we were involved in that. We showed them real live voting, had their own names on their ballots. They saw their names on the machines, and that we thought that was a good educational process. And in speaking to them as to why, and encourage them, when you turn 18, you need to register and vote.
What are some of the changes that you've seen during your career?
As far as the changes I've seen, as far as in election administration, and also into the community and into voting, I've seen that we've had, as far as our equipment has really changed from the time that I started, from the punch card to the DREs to touchscreen, and now people are wanting to have that paper base. So I've seen 3 different types of the election equipment. I've seen more of an interest now into voting. And now that they know that registration is not really key just on if you're registered to vote. And I've seen that as far as an election administrators, though our jobs really changed so much and drastically, that you had to have so much knowledge in so many different areas. Now with cybersecurity, we had to know a lot of structures about cybersecurity. We had to be an IT director to make sure that all of the electronic devices that we now have and the software that is being utilized in the elections department, you had to have that. You also had to be the budget director. You had to know the finances there. You had to be. You also had to be in the legal. You had to be almost an attorney for all the legal battles that you had. An expert witness. You had to. I mean, everyone is filing a lawsuit against you, so you really had to know how to handle those provisions, and also with having to handle cities and school district elections, you had to know contracts. You had to be bound by contracts, so you had to know that. You had to be a grant writer. You know what? If you want grants, how do you get that grant? I mean, you really had to be maybe with communications with the press. I mean, you didn't have a single person that in the office that could be your person to communicate with the press. I mean, you had so many different areas that the elections administrator had to handle rather than just operating the election. So, and recruiter, coming up with what are your best recruitment ideas that in training? How do you train from one group of age group to another age group? So you had to be able to understand who your audience were at all the time. So we played so many different roles that we just couldn't really just sit back and be an administrator. That administrator meant 15 to 20 different roles that you did have to play.
And those roles were only in elections, but as the administrator, you had different aspects of your job as well that you had to deal with, not just elections overall, correct?
Correct. I had voter registration as a role in, and also one of the things that you have to deal with too is with the pandemic that took place. Not only did I have the COVID-19 to deal with in 2020, but back in 2017, Dallas County was faced with Ebola. So, so there's been a couple of pandemics that Dallas County, during my administration, that we're faced with, and there was just no rules or regulation in that process for you to actually utilize. You just had to deal with it as it was related in each of the divisions of the work that you had to perform.
Wow, that's truly amazing. My last question is, what does Black History Month mean to you?
What Black History Month means that this is a time to celebrate some of the leaders that were before me, the civil rights leaders, the activist groups that really made this all possible, made it for someone like me to be an election administrator, to be a part of this whole process. It wasn't easy for them, and it's not easy still right today, but it's a lot better. But it's great to see that acknowledgement is there.
Great. I want to thank you, Toni, for all the work that you've done. and hope you enjoy retirement. We will still be calling on you from the EAC to help out with a few things as we move forward. But I want to thank you for all the hard work that you've put in for these number of years, and thank you for your service to Dallas County and to the nation. And with that, is there anything else that you would like to add before we end this recording?
I just want to say that I do appreciate the EAC, and let me tell you, there would not be another career that I would have enjoyed myself more than working with the elections division, and also working with you all. You all are the greatest, and I am so glad that Congress decided to have EAC there to really assist us and bring it all together, where the nation can have a single group to really assist each of the elections in every county and in every state. So let me just say, hats off to you guys. I know your job is not easy because you deal with so many, but I just want to thank you all, and I want to say that this is the best profession that anyone that's thinking about it should actually take a part of it, because it's one of the greats, and you can really see the difference that you make.
Thank you so much.